I just solved a 100-year marketing problem using AI. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we did it. So the first question off the top of your mind is, well, what's the 100-year marketing problem? So in marketing the holy grail is considered revenue attribution. So being able to attribute every dollar of revenue that's been earned to a marketing channel or a lead source. So since the start of advertising, that's always been the holy grail. And there's this famous quote by a guy named Wanamaker. And over 100 years ago, he said, "Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. Trouble is, I don't know which half." That's a century-old quote. And the sad truth is, for most law firms today, it's still true. And for most businesses in general, but this video is particularly aimed at law firms. So, we've gone from things like newspapers, billboards, radio, TV, to digital marketing, Google Ads, SEO, social media. Yet most businesses still can't answer that one simple question. Which specific dollar spent on marketing brought in this specific dollar of revenue and profit? For the last 20, 25, 30 years, digital marketing actually promised to fix that. We thought things like tracking codes and pixels and cookies would be the answer, but it wasn't. And the reason is because we still rely on humans to close the loop between the marketing data and the revenue data. We force receptionists to ask things like, "How did you hear about us?" Or we force lawyers in this example to fill out drop-down fields in the CRM or the practice management, attributing their client to a particular lead source or referral source. The reality is also that humans are unreliable narrators. And clients forget. They forget how they came across you. Receptionists get busy. Lawyers just want to do the work. They don't want to have to do additional marketing attribution work. So typically what you end up with, and this is what I've seen a lot in law firms, is you've got a lot of data in the practice management software that says things like, how did the client find us? Google, or word of mouth, or website. And the truth might be different. The truth might be the client saw a LinkedIn video, they clicked an ad 3 weeks later, and then they gave you a call. But because of human error and because of what we call the Wanamaker problem, it's never been solved. That is, until now. So we've found a way to remove the human error from the equation completely. We use AI to close that loop, and fix this whole problem that's been around since the start of advertising. So today I'm going to show you how we track every single dollar of revenue for our clients back to the marketing source simply by letting AI do the work that humans hate. So let me show you what it actually looks like. What you're looking at here is the live view of our intake lead tracking system. Now it looks like a simple spreadsheet because, let's face it is a simple spreadsheet, but there's a lot of data and a lot of power that sits behind this. So most firms have this data sitting in two places, if at all, really. You've got your marketing data, so that's the clicks, the ads, the sources, and then you've got your invoicing data. And that is things like, client names in your billing software, the fees they paid. So that could be sitting in platforms like Xero or Smokeball or Clio. The problem is that the marketing data and the invoicing data very rarely talk to each other. So on the left-hand side here, what you've got is the marketing truth. So all this data here is the marketing truth. For example, let's take Grace Harris. So we know that Grace came from a form submission. So she submitted a form on the website. She submitted all of her contact details along with a message saying that she has a consumer rights issue. She's seeking a lawyer for product liability and compensation. We can see also that Grace came from paid search. I'll just zoom in a little bit more. She came from paid search, which is Google Ads. She came from a law firm marketing campaign that we had. She was searching for the keyword compensation lawyer. She landed on this page. She completed a form, which is the form ID in this case is form 1. There might be multiple forms on a client's website. The page she submitted it from, because that could be different from the page she landed on. So she might have landed on a specific landing page and then submitted a form on a contact page, for example. So we're able to get all that data from Grace and understand what the truth is as far as the marketing side of things go. Now, this part's easy, right? Any decent agency can give you this. We track things like form submissions. We track things like inbound calls. So every time somebody calls our clients through our clients' websites, we track the data associated with that call. So we get the phone number. We can tell in this instance that this phone number here called the business, came from paid search through the family law campaign. The keyword was family court lawyer. This is the page they landed on. This is the page they submitted from. And we also record the phone call as well. So our clients can go back and listen to the call recording. That's super handy for, if you want to see how the reception team or the intake team are handling the calls that are coming into the business. And also to see if it's a genuine lead. So a lot of the time we can get all of the data. We also do calendar booking data, so we can tell if somebody books an appointment through the website. That's really good because having a calendar booking option, particularly for things like law firms or professional services, is really handy. A lot of law firms will just have a form or a phone number on the website. The problem with that is if you don't respond to the lead within kind of 5 minutes, then you're 21 times less likely to convert that lead. That was done by a famous study in combination with Harvard and the Lead Management Institute that looked at tens of thousands of leads. And the conclusion they came to was that speed to lead is one of the most important factors for converting clients. And if you think about it, a customer comes to your website, they submit a form, you don't call them back, within 5 minutes or pretty much right away. They're on to the next website, submitting another form, the next website, submitting another form. And then it's really just a matter of who gets back to that client first. That's who they're probably going to go ahead with, because clients don't want to have to explain themselves 2 or 3 times to get multiple quotes. If the first law firm that calls them comes across as a decent law firm, then they're pretty much going to go with it, because who's got the time to sit down with multiple law firms and assess them and all that kind of stuff. So typically the first person to get to that lead wins. So speed to lead is huge. However, law firms in particular, and I don't mean to pick on law firms, but they're pretty bad at getting back to clients. Like most law firms will call a customer the same day, maybe a couple of hours later. I know this because I've got the data across hundreds of law firms and I see their response times, and it's usually more than an hour, which means that they're 21 times less likely to convert that client. The ones that crush it are the ones who are calling back immediately. Lead comes in on a form submission, bang, they're on the phone. Now you might ask, well, what about after hours? Great question. We put in calendar booking options for this exact reason, because if the law firm can't call them back within 5 minutes, we want to make sure that we take that customer off the market. And the way we take them off the market is we allow them to book in directly to a calendar. And what that does psychologically is if a person knows they've got a meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m., for example, they're less likely to go and search or fire off any contact form submissions on other websites. So you don't just become another tab in a user's browser. They come to your site, they book a calendar appointment, they know tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, I've got that meeting with the lawyer, I don't have to think about it anymore. And it takes them off the market. So having a calendar booking option is extremely important for firms who can't get back to people straight away. So that's the marketing truth. And any decent agency, and let's face it, there's not many of them, should be able to give you that data. Or you should have that data set up. It's quite easy to get that data. But now let's look at the other side of this. This is the financial data. So this is what happened to that lead in our billing system, in our booking system. So the financial truth is, in this case for Grace, she generated $16,500, became an open file, and generated that for the client's business. Now in the past, I would build this spreadsheet and this system for a client, and I would rely on my clients to fill out these fields. So every month we'd catch up, we'd have a meeting, we'd go through all the leads. My client ideally would have done their homework and put in what happened to that lead. So, was it a open file? Maybe it's a first meeting. Maybe they didn't respond when they tried to reach out. Maybe it was a wrong fit. Or maybe it resulted in an open file. And if so, how much that file was worth. You can imagine how many of my clients filled this out every month consistently. One. I think one, she's really good at it. The rest of them didn't do it. So we turn up to the meetings and none of this data would be here. It'd just be like that. Not much insight that we can provide there for the client. So rather than give them homework, we built a system, and here's how we fixed it. We didn't ask our clients to do this anymore. We simply took the data from wherever they invoiced, like practice management software or financial billing software like Xero or QuickBooks, and we matched it. So for example, in this instance here, in the billing data, we saw that there was a person's name, Grace Harris, and she had $16,500 worth of bills over multiple invoices. So we're able to go, okay, so Grace Harris is in the billing software. Is she in the lead dashboard, which is what we're looking at here? And our AI goes and checks the lead dashboard and says, yes, she is. She actually came from paid search. You can see her right there at the top. Let's go ahead and put the value of the invoice here and also change the status to open file because now she's an open file. So it removes the person completely from that process. Our system can see that, attribute the dollar figure to Grace, and now we know that Google Ads generated that particular amount of money for our client. Zero human involvement and pretty much 100% accuracy. So when you automate that for every single client, you can see here all the revenue figures for the client, you get this, a simple revenue attribution dashboard. And so with this, we can see line by line how much each lead source is generating us in terms of revenue. So for example, paid search, we can see here it got 278 leads. 72 of them converted into clients, which is a 25%, almost 26% conversion rate. And we know that those clients generated exactly $794,545 in revenue, which means the average revenue per client or per matter is $11,000. And on average, it takes about, this particular firm, takes about 18 days from when they first get a lead to when that lead converts into a customer and an open file. Compare that to things like referrals. So you can see the referral here, fewer leads, only 50 of them, much higher conversion rate as you'd expect, generated nearly 350K in revenue, slightly higher matters, and they closed a lot quicker. This data tells us that, while Google brings in a lot of volume, referrals bring in a lot of value because as they should, they've come highly recommended from a third party to your firm and they're usually the best matters. We also see things like organic search, which is SEO, takes a little bit longer to convert. 22 days, referrals only take 12 days. So as a result, this isn't guesswork anymore. It's not gut feel. This is actually your bank account organized by marketing source. And the beauty of this entire system is that our clients, team members don't have to change a single thing they do. They don't have to do extra work. They don't have to change anything. They just get the leads through the door, process them as normal. The receptionist answers the phone. The lawyers just do the work. The lawyers just send the bills. And because we're matching data on the back end using digital fingerprints, you get this report every single month, real time, live, 24/7 dashboard without anyone lifting a finger. And the digital fingerprint are things like phone numbers, email address, person's name, all these IP address, all these kind of things tie into us being able to match the billing data with the marketing data. So our clients, they stop wondering whether the SEO agency is worth the money. They can just look at the SEO revenue column and know that, yep, we spent this much on SEO, generated this much in revenue, it's working. Same with paid search, for example. They might look at paid search and go, the Google ad campaign, we spent 50 grand on it this month, it only generated 30 grand, let's cut it. Or, we spent 50 grand, it got us 700 grand, let's keep it. So you can make these decisions now no longer based on gut feel, it's all based on actual real data that's coming out of both your billing platform and your marketing system. So the other thing that sits in between these two, so you've got your leads marketing data over here, you've got the revenue attribution data here, plug it into your billing. In between that, we like to put a dashboard like this for every single campaign. So the reason we do this is because we want to drill down and find out specifically if the Google ad campaign is performing or underperforming or what's happening there. If it's underperforming, we want to be able to zero in on the data and fix what's not working. So for example, in this column here, B, this is the monthly target. So when the client first signed up with us, they gave me a budget of $5,000 a month to spend on their Google ads. I set the expectation and said, look, for 5 grand, we could probably land about 10 new clients because these are the averages that I work with every day. We've got hundreds of law firm clients. We've got all this data coming in. We know the average conversion rates and what businesses should be converting at. So, we can say you should be converting at least 1 in 3, 1 in 4 at worst. The landing page that we build and send traffic to should convert at 10%. So 1 in 10 people coming to a landing page should become a lead. And we know all the costs per lead and all that kind of stuff. So for that 5 grand, I can say to the client, you can reasonably expect to get 50 leads a month. And of those 50 leads, 10 of them are going to turn into a client. We're going to spend on average $100 per lead, and we're probably going to pay around about $500 to acquire a customer. The average customer generates probably 5 grand. So that's nearly a 10 times return on investment. So for every dollar you spend on Google ads, you should get about $10 back in revenue. So our target is 50 grand a month in revenue. That's what we would expect from a $5,000 a month Google ads budget. So then we just track it each month. So for example, in April, we can see that we spent $5,080. It cost us $9.24 to bring someone from an ad, a Google ad, to the website. We generated 550 visitors to the website for the month of April. 59 of those visitors turned into leads, and 38 of those leads turned into initial consultations. This is the law firm example. So we got 38 of the 59 to show up for an initial consultation, and of those 38, nearly 35% of those, or 15, turned into clients. So we got 15 clients. We know from the revenue attribution dashboard that for the month of April, those 15 clients generated $159,000 in revenue, which is an average of about 10 grand per matter. So then we can have a look at, well, was that good or bad? Well, we spent 5 grand, we generated 159,000. That's a 31 times return on ad spend. That means for every dollar that this particular client invested in their Google ad campaign, we gave them back $31.40. Do that all day. That's a fantastic investment. We know that the cost to acquire a customer was $39 and the cost to get a lead through the door was $86, both of which are below our threshold. And the return on ad spend was significantly above threshold, 3 times more than what we'd anticipated and budgeted for. Needless to say, this is a very happy client. So if any of these numbers are off, if for example, the leads coming in, you can see back in November, the leads were coming in at $192 per lead. That's too expensive. I want them in at $100 a lead. So that tells me something's off there. Maybe we're not getting enough traffic. Maybe the landing page isn't converting. And turns out the landing page wasn't converting. So usually in the early days of a campaign, while we're still trying to figure stuff out, things like landing page conversion rate can be a bit off. So we looked at this and go, well, only 3% of people, we got 660 visitors, only 21 of them turned into leads. Something's wrong with the landing page. So you can see we improved it over time. We got it to a point where 1 in 10 converts. So little things like that allow us to hone in and figure out like what's working, what's not working. Where do we need to put our energy as an agency to fix the funnel for the client to be able to generate the leads and the return on investment that they want to get. So having all of this data at our fingertips allows us to deliver the result and the return on investment for the client. So the technology to do all this, it exists right now, and the data is already inside, the business, inside your firm. You just need to connect those two wires together. We run this for clients who thought that their SEO campaign was underperforming, for example, only to find out that once we connected the wires, actually your SEO campaign is driving a lot of revenue. Or, their Facebook ad campaign just wasn't pulling their weight. They had a gut feel, but they didn't want to turn it off just in case. We were able to tell them that, hey, yeah, look, your social media campaign hasn't returned anything. Your Facebook ads are just not landing. The landing page isn't converting. No one's clicking on it. And as a result, you're spending all this money and not getting a return. So then we can look at the creative. We can take over that campaign from the previous agency and say, look, now that we know, let's improve the creative, or let's improve the landing page, or whatever. It allows us to have the data to be able to make intelligent decisions on where we need to improve stuff and get a better return. If you want to see exactly how much revenue every single channel of your marketing is delivering to your business, from maybe your current agency, your internal team, or just yourself doing your own ads, then go ahead and book a free attribution audit with me, and I'll be able to sit down and tell you exactly where your leads are coming from and how many of those leads are actually turning into customers. I'll plug in your data, I'll run the match, and I'll show you essentially what is the Holy Grail table, which is this table here. I'll be able to show you the Holy Grail of what's happening with your marketing investment. So I promise you, once you see the truth about where your revenue is coming from, you're never going to look at marketing the same way again. So go ahead, book your free audit, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. Cheers.